Good evening, Twitch. Welcome back to the United Hearthstone League Twitch channel right here on Twitch TV / United Hearthstone League. We've got the top of the triple header we've had for our triple header Thursday ahead of you right now. It's going to be Mike Lowe versus Nate Wolf. We're going to talk about that in just a second. My name is Cinder, and I am joined by my previous podcasting co-host, Bodicus. Man, what is up?
How's it going, Cinder? I feel like we've done this recently. The
This
whole being in a room together, chat room.
Yeah, this feels very, very familiar. If you're subscribed to the Coin Concede podcast, where Bodicus is a regular host, and you hear that episode that drops this weekend, you may hear a familiar voice. It was a fun show. Glad to have done it. But that's going to be for next week. Tonight, Bot, we are going to be casting streamer extraordinaire, overnight sensation, Mike Lowe versus Nate Wolf of the Into the Wild podcast. And we believe we have the lists. And before we talk about the lists, let's talk about the rules of United Hearthstone League. Bodicus, explain exactly how this league works.
So the league is played out as a round robin, and basically every week you need to bring 3 classes. And once you have brought 3 classes, you cannot play those same 3 classes until you have played all 9 classes, and then it's played as a best of 5 with no bans and conquest format. So we're currently in I guess what you would call the second week of the rotation. So they've already played 3 classes. This is their classes 4 through 6, and then they still have one more week where they have the final 3 that they haven't chosen yet.
Yeah, so in regards to their classes, Bodicus, it looks like they have on deck for tonight. Nate will be taking Mage, Rogue, and Warlock. And Mike, with a very similar lineup, a Mage, Priest, and Warlock. And I know you've taken a look at these lists, so what do we expect for this best of 5 tonight?
So it's pretty interesting. Nate seems to have gone with some fairly standard high-tier meta decks, whereas Mike Lowe has basically taken a slight deviation. There's still a lot of the very standard cards in there, but also some surprises that hopefully will kind of give a little bit of extra flavor to the normal deck list you've been seeing on ladder. I really like some of the choices Mike has made here. I know you actually played Mike recently in another league, right? How did that go?
I played Mike last night, actually, right before we recorded the podcast, in the Coin Concede Listener League, and I would say each game was very contentious. However, that did come away as a 3-0 for yours truly. But the thing I love about Mike and his deck list is that he never wants to just copy paste the lists, off of pick your deck list website, right? He loves putting his own spin on decks. He loves coming up with new ideas, and that creativity is on show every time he's on his own stream and on stream playing with us, of course. So I'm really curious to see how these unique decks are going to line up versus Nate's more meta standard decks.
Yeah, hopefully, since they don't know each other's deck lists, I'm hoping that some of the cards that are in Mike's deck can really surprise Nate, and maybe Nate will be playing around thinking that he's playing against like a totally meta deck, and then end up, playing right into some of these kind of unique cards that Mike Lowe has brought to the table today.
And Bot, if you want to tell them to go ahead and get ready to go ahead and go when they're ready to go, I'm going to talk about what happened elsewhere today in United Hearthstone League. Earlier today, we had Rod Johnston versus the Red Knight in our first match of the day. And in that match, looks like Red Knight, they have not played. Well, they either haven't played or they haven't reported their scores. Remember, players, report your scores so we can talk about you on the stream. In our second match of the evening, it was Spyveer of 1600 Dust versus the one and only champion of Season 1, Ridiculous Hat, and that was a 3-1 win for Ridiculous Hat. So once again on his way to putting his name in the books of lore of the United Hearthstone League, Bodicus.
Yeah, I was really bummed because I really wanted to actually cast that match because it was a rematch of the finals of season one.
Oh yeah.
And so I was really disappointed that I wasn't able to catch it, but I'll definitely be going back and watching the VOD on there. I know that Spivey's always going to bring his A game against Hat and try to get there. And obviously Hat has shown throughout his tenure at UHL that he's a very fierce competitor and really trying to run it back to back, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And fun fact: Ridiculous Hat and Spivey. Well, Spivey's not on the team, but Ridiculous Hat and Rock Base are part of a team on Team Hearth League, and of course, Spivey and Chris are very good friends. So there's probably a lot of inside knowledge between the two of them. They probably know each other's styles very well. So it's definitely a head game for sure. And looks like Mike and Nate are getting started. We're going to try and get the spectator client rolling here if it'll cooperate. Mike will be on the bottom and Nate will be on the top. So, Bodicus, while this is loading up, what are the keys to victory here for each of these players, do you think?
So if I'm thinking about it, really what Nate is going to need to avoid is running his rogue into Mike's mage. Mike is playing a somewhat more aggressive mage deck, and Nate is actually playing quest rogue. So that's something he's really going to want to avoid. And it looks like we have a warlock mirror queued up first.
Yeah, double cubes for both players, Doomsayer, Kobold Librarians in both hands. So this is going to be a cube block, but Mike's deck is a little unique, as we were just talking about. So we'll see if those unique techs are going to give him the edge here.
Yeah, let's see. Looking at this hand, he's really taken his time with this. So, I don't know about you, but I generally mulligan away the Kobold Librarian. My kind of thought process is, in a lot of situations, you actually don't really want to be playing Librarian, especially on turn one in the mirror, because it's really important to be able to upgrade your spell stones on time. And also, like, the chip damage is almost never going to matter right now. Like, since we're still waiting on the nerf to Dark Pact, you know, the amount of life you gain back with Dark Pact is just so substantial that really, you know, being able to upgrade those spellstones later, get more utility out of your cards, maybe even set up a more cleaner defile. I really like holding on to cards like Librarian, but I guess both of our players decided just to play it out on turn one.
Yeah, it's not something I can fault them for. It's a natural turn one play. It presents a body. It draws a card. It's a great card for its mana cost, so it's hard to pass up. But this creates a state of equilibrium for the two players. They're now on to their second turns. Mike has to choose between a life tap and a coin play or the second Kobold Librarian. He's going to go for the Librarian. And more board tension, more cards, more damage coming in towards Wolf. Considering the trade, Mike,
Yeah.
I can tell you Mike is a very deliberate player bot.
Yeah, so I was actually wondering because I believe Mike decided not to trade on that first go around with the librarian. So I'm actually kind of surprised to see him make this trade this time. I kind of liked the aggression, but obviously, you know, since Mike ended up going face and Nate ended up also going face, obviously somebody's right there and somebody's probably not doing it, doing that correctly. So I'm kind of wondering what your thoughts are there on the whole attack.
It's I think because maybe he wanted to apply pressure first, but then once he saw the second librarian, he said, "Okay, let me go ahead and seize the initiative on the board." That's the most logical thing I would think of. Doomsayer play here from Wolf, very interesting because if Mike wanted to, which I guess he doesn't, he had the opportunity to coin Skull following this Doomsayer clear on Wolf's side because Wolf doesn't have a great play on 4 as Q Black usually doesn't. But he opts for a coin Spellstone to clear the Doomsayer. Was that worth saving a 2-1 bot?
You know, I don't think that's the play I would have necessarily made. It looks like he's trying to kind of use his early game advantage of getting in this chip damage with the librarians. Kind of figures that he has this skull, probably going to be able to pressure a bit later. I actually want to check to see if he's playing Doom Guards.
And now Mike deploys his own Doomsayer to go ahead and clear the board after so much work being put into keeping the board seized on his own side. But this is going to allow Wolf to to equip the Skull of Minari without having to worry about his board at all. Doomsayer does the work for him.
Yeah, and now Mike's kind of in a weird spot. He has this skull he could put down, doesn't have any demons in hand yet, or he could put down this lackey and kind of get ahead, but he's got to be worried about Nate's skull, which, as we see now, also doesn't have any demons, in hand. Kind of a funny little stalemate here.
Yeah, that will happen. It feels like sometimes you have them all and sometimes you don't have any of them. And Wolf with no activator is just going to go ahead and play out the possessed lackey. Mike not having any way to address it either via silence or copy, but he does have an activator for his own possessed lackey, and that's going to pull Void Lord. Board is firmly in Mike Lowe's hands now.
Yeah, so now that I've looked a little more closely at Mike Lowe's list, Mike is actually playing the more controlling version, as kind of tipped off that we could have seen by the Twisting Nether and the Stonehill Defender. So I find it definitely interesting that he decided to use the Spellstone that aggressively on the Doomsayer there. And as we can see, pulling out the Doom Guards, multiple Doom Guards from Nate Wolf here. We're definitely in a cube versus control situation.
Yeah, great combination recognition from Wolf there. Spirit Singer, Umbra, copying, or when the Tal'Daram comes and copies a Death Rattle, that is a summon effect, which allows that demon to pop out of the possessed lackey, and Wolf rolls high, gets both Doom Guards out of both Death Rattles, and there's still Void Lords in the deck bot, so there's plenty of board tension Wolf is going to create on his side. Mike Lowe down to just 3/1/3s, not very much of a strong play here. I don't see a way for him to address this big board of Wolf aside from just hellfiring the whole thing.
Well, so he does have that option, right? There's 4 health minions, and he has a hellfire and 1 attack minion. So he could clear and then trigger the possessed lackey. He knows that no more Doom Guards will be coming out. So the worst that'll happen is he'll have a Void Lord coming out, since he knows the Wolf definitely has 1 Void Lord left in the deck, but decides to develop his own possessed lackey. What do you think of this?
It seems like a weak play. Wolf can immediately address these 3/1/3s, and with Spirit Singer Umbra remaining on board, another copy effect like that Faceless Manipulator that just came into Wolf's hand is going to create even more demons, or even this Carnivorous Cube to create more Doom Guards. That was a very, very high risk, low reward play, I think, from Mike, and he is paying for it now.
Yeah, this game's looking pretty grim here for Mike Lowe. He really needs like a demon to come into hand. The Dark Pact there is a good pickup because it'll help him recoup some of this life, but I mean, this cube is going to have 2 more Doom Guards coming out of it once it dies, and there's no silence in sight for Mike Lowe. Seems like he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the Twisting Nether is about the only option I see here for Mike. If he does that, though, he's still going to trigger all the demon summons from the lackey and the cube that are on the board. So it's not a clean clear in the slightest. Although it may pull the Void Lord from Mike Lowe's deck. So it might be his only way out here, and I think you just go for it and hope for the best.
Yeah, it seems like that might be your only option, but he's going to go for the trade on the lackey, sees the Void Lord come out from Nate Wolf.
There's the other Void Lord for Mike, and now he has to... Oh, he's gonna cube Pact this to create just a ton of taunt.
Yeah, this play makes a lot of sense. Just put up as big a wall as you can because if you can make it into the late game with control lock, it does feel like you're slightly favored. But ooh, that's an interesting draw there from Nate Wolf. I did not notice him playing Rin in addition to Doom Guards. Not a very common set of cards there.
Yeah, fairly unusual to run Rin and the Doom Guards, because usually you're going all in on the combo with the Doom Guards. Rin is more of a control tool to win control mirrors, so interesting choice by Nate Wolf, but if you're going to spin that one flex slot, hey, why not spin it on Rin?
He actually could play a Rin to get a seal in hand right away from the Spirit Singer Umbra, but if you're asking me, I think you just faceless the cube there and play a Hellfire, and that would have been lethal, but this is probably going to do more than enough damage. Oh, as we can see, he found lethal anyway.
Yeah, there's so many overlapping synergies available for Cube Lock. It's so easy to sometimes, when you have the right cards in hand, to create a lethal situation in the late game. So Nate Wolf is going to go up 1-0 in this set, and the Warlock gets retired. And before they jump into the next match, we want to remind everyone that United Hearthstone League is patron supported. Patreon.com/United Hearthstone League. That's how this league is going to continue to grow, through support from viewers like you. So if you want to be a part of that and get some generous rewards from the folks that run UHL, go to the patreon.com/United Hearthstone League and check out the reward schedule. It's pretty sweet. Our highest level patron right now is the one and only Zeroshio from the Hero Power podcast. And he gets a chat room in the Discord all to himself, where he gets the players and the casters and all the other content creators in his own little his own little clubhouse. You should join him. You should go to the Patreon and pitch in a little bit and be one of those special patrons. Bot, have you spoken much to Zeroshio in the past? Have you spent time with the Hero Power guys?
I have not. I love their podcast a lot. The guys over there, Zeroshio and Avantes, and those guys are a lot of fun to listen to. I definitely want to be more active in the UHL Discord, but obviously, both of us are there. We're always happy to talk to anybody, especially if you become a patron, you'll have a lot more access to kind of just be able to talk to the players, really just have a lot more involvement with the UHL.
Yeah, and I'm in there pretty constantly because I have a desk job. I have Discord open basically 24/7. If you at me, I'll probably respond. If it's during the day, I definitely will respond. Now they're heading into game 2 now, so we're gonna see what Mike's gonna do to try to get back from this 1-0 deficit. And he's switching to the priests. Nate pulls up the mage. Ooh, the mage has a check mark on it. That's the wrong class.
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting. Mike is playing a Spiteful Summoner priest list with some pretty cool cards that I actually haven't seen played in a while. We see the Glimmer Roots in the opening hand, and it's going to be against Wolf's a big Spell Mage. And what do you kind of think of these matchups? I know you do a lot of extensive research into matchups like this. What do you think here?
I do. Spiteful builds tend to edge out big Spell Mage or Control Mage, if you will. Just that constant mid-range pressure that these Spiteful builds can put out. It's difficult for the Mage to have enough removal to handle them all. Especially the high health stuff, like the stuff that comes out of Spiteful Summoner, like the Primordial Drake that you see in hand. Twilight Drake also very common in these priest builds. And the biggest clear that Mage can get is 7 points off of Dragonfire or Dragon's Fury. And that is not enough to clear sometimes. So it's going to be a challenge for Wolf to mete out his removal and try to, sometimes going to require some 2-turn clears in order to clear these boards. So that equates to Priest having the edge in this matchup. Mike getting an interesting bit of information here. The Curious Glimmer Root offering a few things. One of them definitely a Tempo Mage tool with the Vex Crow and the Raven Familiar being the control mage pick. So Mike could have gotten some information on this archetype, but didn't pick correctly, Bot.
Yeah, it's actually funny because if you think about it, the other crow that he decided not to choose actually would have been quite good in the spiteful deck.
Right.
It would have been even more likely to draw a spell than in the big spell mage deck, which I find quite amusing.
Yeah, and one of the other things about this matchup, Raven Familiar does not draw a card because the spiteful top end spells are too expensive. So, what is that? Free from Amber and Mind Control are higher than 7. And 7 is the highest big spell in the big spell mage. So, dead card usually in these matchups.
Yeah, Nate Wolf's not playing anything spicy like a Pyroblast, which I have seen before in some lists, but this is a pretty interesting turn here. It looks like he's reaching for that Scale Worm, which I don't mind. Yeah, I think this is probably... this seems like a fairly solid play, but I would worry about, now that you know that it's Big Spell Mage, I'd worry about something like a Dragon's Fury coming out this turn.
It is a little early for it. Wolf would have to coin it out if he wanted to address this board. And this is the kind of tricky spots that Control Mage finds itself in against Spiteful decks, because do you spend one of your very valuable resources on clearing this board, which is not, it's threatening, but not too threatening. And Mike Lowe gets transformed. It's a power down, not a clear, and he can replay another Glimmerroot to maybe pick up another card here.
So, do you think that will give Mike the read that there is no Dragon's Fury and he's fairly safe to develop, say, like some more 3 toughness minions into this? Because we know the next best play next turn it would be like a Coin Blizzard and still has an extra turn before any Flame Strikes or anything comes out.
I'm interested in the fact that Wolf decided to not challenge the board with like the Keysmith, which is a 3/3, and it would have been value traded down by the 5/4, but that would have been 5 damage that did not go to his face. Or I'm sorry, the Keysmith is a 2/2. Okay, but he goes ahead and develops it now, and Counterspell is actually an interesting choice, but Mirror Entity is probably the attractive choice here, and that looks like that's what Wolf goes for. Sure is.
I don't know. I might have tried to level Mike Lowe there and go with like a Vaporize or something.
Right. Well, with
just something you don't expect.
With the sheep on the board, though, there's a high probability that he gets no value on that. And Mike Lowe just continuing to create chip damage through these smaller minions. As long as Wolf does not want to clear the board, Mike's going to continue to take advantage of it. But this might be the trap that Wolf is trying to set. Just continue to develop and finally pull the trigger on one of these big clears.
And I like how he's testing out these different the different secrets that it could have possibly been. He essentially got it so that the worst minion the Wolf could get was the one that he ended up getting. So I like the way he ended up going about that turn to test for the secret.
Blizzard finally being deployed by Wolf, preserving the coin still, gets most of a board clear, takes the card draw engine off the board. Mike Lowe now at 7 mana, no strong plays still. Gonna have to reach for the Glimmerroot and see what he can copy from Wolf's deck. Oh my goodness. Oh, Mike, you know which one it is, Mike. You have to take Jaina.
Oh, and it's so good too. Like, it's definitely like that's the one thing about the unfortunate thing about a card like Frostlich Jaina in a priest deck is the mage is so much better at being able to control the HP of your enemy's minions. So getting the water elementals is actually quite difficult. But at the same time, you're super excited to see that Jaina, because it just means that there's so many things that now the mage can't do as your opponent. Like, you can't make it so that they can ping something twice in a row because to get it down to 1 health. It just prevents a few of the different things that Nate could end up doing in the late game, which it looks like this game's going to end up going to.
And apologies for the spectator bug there. I don't know why Jaina insists on being front and center. Oh, there she goes. Spectator bug, 4 years into the game, we're still having them, but hey, small development company. Wolf deciding to just challenge what's on the board here with some smaller bodies. Not worth a clear in the Flame Strike, in his opinion. Mike Lowe now getting into turn 8. He has options. 3 of his 4 big spells have landed in his hand, and he's got to be hoping he sees a Spiteful really, really soon. But just playing Free from Amber from hand is an option, as is the Primordial Drake. Bot, which one do you like?
Based on the board state now, I would say that Free from Amber makes the most sense, which it looks like Mike is going to agree. And I really like this Lich King here.
Yeah, Lich King's really good here.
Especially since, like, it looked like he moused over the Malagos briefly, but without any spells to be able to make that spell damage work. It just seems like getting the value immediately from the Lich King is going to be quite good. And then I think you could probably... Okay, he ends up making the trades here. I don't hate this.
Yeah.
You don't want a card like Flame Strike kind of wiping your whole board and leaving Wolf with a board.
Yeah, those little minion trades can set up Flame Strike and Dragon's Fury. But Voodoo Doll came into hand pretty recently for Wolf. This is going to be an easy pickup to clear off that Lich King before he gets too many Death Knight cards. Stonehill Defender going to protect the face and picked up a Primordial Drake. That's a pretty big get. I like that.
Yeah, so the one issue I'm seeing currently is that for Mike Lowe, I don't know how he's going to effectively deal with this Dragon Caller Alana. Obviously, getting the Jaina here and potentially getting a lot of value out of it is going to be quite good, and you have Primordial Drake and Death and Decay to kind of control your opponent's health total of their minions. But I feel like as long as Wolf is able to stabilize the board at some point with like a Dragon's Fury, eventually this Dragon Caller Alana is going to make a gigantic board, and I don't know how Mike is going to handle it before he just dies.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Mike needed to really be creating a lot of chip damage in order to continue to threaten the Jaina life total. But Jaina now at 25 on Wolf's side of the board, Mike Lowe at 34. This is going to turn into a slugfest really, really quickly. Plenty of beef in either player's hand. Dragon Caller Alana, Lich King, Primordial Drake available for Wolf. Mike Lowe picking up the Scale Worm. Does have Primordial Drake as well. Free from Amber. Mind Control. There's just a ton of power in both of these hands. This could go the distance, Bot.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how how to navigate the rest of this game from this point. I mean, it would appear to me that Mike Lowe needs to get rid of some cards out of his hand, just because it's filling up so much. And if you get like a card like Ysera, like your hand
goes, my goodness.
Like, his hand's just filling up and filling up, which, I mean, you're gonna need as the game goes on, but, yeah, that Ysera is actually a really good pickup, because we already had one polymorph used by Wolf, and no Meteor in sight.
Yeah, Meteor not yet been seen by Wolf. No way to answer. He's already deployed a Voodoo Doll as well, so he's going to try and hope this Dragon's Fury does enough damage to cleans up 2 of the Water Elementals along with the Hero Power, generates another Elemental for himself, but Ysera's going to stay on the board as a 4/4, continue generating value for Mike Lowe, and Mike really needs to not be playing the value game, I think, but I think he needs to be trying to outrace Alana, because as you said, no way to clear Alana outside of double Dustbreaker. So he needs to not be in a position where that's threatening lethal from 6 5/5s and a 3/3 on the board.
So Ysera is actually going to be your best chance at being able to clear it. So actually having it in play for multiple turns is probably going to be your best bet. So he really needs something like the Ysera's Awakening to come out of the Ysera this turn, and that's not it.
Yeah, so Wolf, if he recognizes Ysera Awakens as the answer to Dragon Caller Alana, he needs to be able to clear this Ysera now, which he can do with what he has in hand. It's question of recognition because he's playing on the back foot this turn, and he has to try and create a swing turn to allow him to develop that Alana and start creating some counter pressure. At the moment, too, Wolf is ahead in the... Oh, no, they're tied on cards. Both have 15, which means Mike is one card closer to fatigue, which could even play a big factor in this matchup as it goes longer and longer.
And I like this noticing from Wolf a lot. He realizes that he's probably going to have to play this Flame Strike this turn and clear the Ysera, but wants to make sure he gets the Water Elemental. Although he did end up playing that Arcane Artificer last minute, and I don't necessarily love that because now Mike can do the trade with the Water Elemental and ping his own Water Elemental to essentially restore it back to 6 health.
Although Mike, being the priest player in this this game state, may not recognize that. Well, he's going to do it this way. He's going to clear both and use that hero power to create another elemental, get a full clear on Wolf. Wolf again on the back foot. Needs a meteor badly. There it is.
Yeah, that very good recognition of your spot. That play was significantly better than the one I was seeing immediately. So props to Mike for seeing that, able to create the Water Elemental and kind of give yourself a board, because the way he's going to beat this Dragon Caller Alana is by already having a board before Wolf is ever able to play the Alana. And so, if you just look at these hands, Mike's hand is just so stacked right now.
Oh, and that a Frostmourne coming into hand for Wolf, that could be a huge swing card in this matchup. Mike Lowe, no way to answer the Lich King directly unless he wants to play Shadow Reaper Anduin, which of course would get rid of Frostlich Jaina. But he can soft remove the problem via the Twilight Acolytes, and that would allow Mike Lowe to trade down this Lich King and create another Elemental. So if I'm Mike Lowe, I think that's the play I'm going for here, Bot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You've already seen a Flame Strike. You've already seen a Dragon's Fury. Wolf is starting to run out of cards in hand, although this Mind Control actually looks pretty juicy too. I mean, you just kind of keep taking all of Wolf's stuff. I don't know how Wolf's going to be able to come back into this game now.
Well, he is still holding a Polymorph, so he can... Oh, and Mike Lowe's going to at least answer one of the minions by himself. In fact, Mike has to get rid of a card here, because the Lich King is going to create the 10th card in hand. So I guess he deployed that Nightmare to free up some room in the hand, although Doompact's not helpful at all for Mike Lowe here. But yes, Wolf does need to answer this board. He does have the tools in hand to do it, but it's going to take all 10 mana for him to do so.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what the plan is here. You probably just I was thinking you just polymorph the Lich King and get your Water Elemental, but I guess this will work out okay as well. I mean, the 4 damage from the Primordial Drake is honestly not that scary, so... and it looks like he might be trying to set up for a Frostmourne in a couple turns.
Yeah, true enough. And Michael finally getting Spiteful Summoner in hand. It was the 13th card from the bottom, and there is still a Mind Control in the deck. So he's going to get an instant refill after the Lich King goes down from that Meteor Strike. Gets the 12/12 Deathwing, second best one besides Tyrantus. And now Wolf is really starting to run out of answers for this continuous pressure from Mike Lowe.
Flame Strike's a pretty good pickup. This Meteor is going to give him a Water Elemental, so actually not the worst position for Wolf at the moment, but as we can just see, like, Mike Lowe still has so much gas. I don't know how Wolf is ever going to get into a position where he's going to be able to play this Dragon Caller Alana and not be under a good amount of pressure.
Yeah, Cobalt Scalebane also pretty good at creating pressure over time, and Mike definitely has the minions, the smaller minions he can put down to take advantage of the Scalebane's +3 buff every single turn. So, as you said, just gas and gas and gas for Mike. He's just going to continue to apply this pressure, keep demanding answers from Wolf, keep creating Water Elementals where he can. Yeah, definitely want to just go ahead and ping off your own.
Yep, definitely want to do that.
Three
And I
six
was
is better than two one.
Yeah, and I was actually just thinking that uh, we were saying Doom Pact earlier was not great, but eventually, Wolf is gonna go for this Dragon Caller Alana, and Doom Pact does answer it. So as long as Dragon Caller Alana is kind of the last threat, which a lot of times it is, Mike might be able to go into fatigue a little bit earlier than Wolf and just have a couple extra threats that could help him finish the game there if it comes down to that.
Well, you say a little earlier, but Doom Pact, if it cleared just Alana, that would burn 7 cards, which would put Mike very, very close to fatigue. And that could be very dangerous in this matchup, because this might go into fatigue if Wolf can continue to answer this board, but we have to wait and see if he can do that.
Yeah, I also just realized that, Shadow Reaper Anduin's also a really good answer to Dragon Caller Alana. For some reason, I didn't see it in his deck when I initially looked at it, but we'll kind of have to see if Mike Lowe ends up just holding the Shadow Reaper Anduin, expecting a Dragon Caller Alana to come out of Nate Wolf's deck.
That is the primary in-game threat for these mage decks, aside from fatigue games and the occasional Lich King. So if Mike's done his homework, he knows that Alana is in the hand, and you're right, that Shadow Reaper Anduin will answer the board. So this, at the moment, Mike seems to have something pretty close to a checkmate scenario, or like an eventual checkmate, as he continues to apply this pressure and pick up water elementals as we go. Because he has the answers to Wolf's threats, and Wolf does not necessarily have endless answers to Mike Lowe's threats.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what's going to happen here. It looks like Nate is going to really have to try to make this Frostmourne essentially kind of swing the board back in his favor at some point, but this turn honestly just doesn't look too great. Like, it's pretty tempting to make a water elemental here, but then what's your follow-up? What's your plan after you do that?
Yeah, all of these cards very clunky for Wolf. He's going to only be able to deploy one card here, no matter what he plays. Geddon, is it too early for Geddon bot? I mean, it's going to heal him for 10 net, which is great. Creates a threat on the board, but Mike's going to be able to answer it immediately.
Yeah, and generate a water elemental in the process. So, it seems like Mike is actually just going to run Wolf out of threats and answers at the same time. Like, it's kind of funny, all these cards that Mike ended up putting in his deck, the Glacial Shard, this Ironbeak Owl here, they're all just like kind of going to be able to generate him extra water elementals. That, I was saying that Priest can't really control health totals that well on even boards, but when you just have these 1 toughness cards already in your deck, then generating water elementals isn't so bad.
The time is now.
So let's see. I'm really trying to think what's Mike's best way to kind of sure up this game, because it definitely feels like he's ahead at this point. He's ahead on cards. He has answers to a lot of threats. I'm kind of wondering how he proceeds just to lock the game up.
I would like to inform everyone that I have found my push to talk key. I lost it for a second there. I want to say, like, I'm actually really impressed with Mike for holding on to those Twilight Acolytes for so long. It's a lot of discipline to not use those right away on like Lich Kings and stuff. But Wolf missed out on recreating a water elemental with his hero power, and now Mike's going to take it from him. Oh my goodness, that might have actually been a fatal misstep here from Wolf, because he could have had the board tenuously, but now Mike's going to be able to take the board for himself.
Yeah, I think looks like Nate just played just a little bit too quickly there. Got kind of excited at the board clear and didn't notice that he was leaving one of his water elementals stranded. It happens. It's not I don't think it's going to necessarily be the thing that lost him this game, but it definitely would have been something in his favor, so that he might have been able to like play the Dragon Color Alana, force out the Shadow Reaper Anduin, and then potentially, you know, be Jaina be able to create some more water elementals when, you know, because when Mike Lowe transforms into Shadow Reaper Anduin, that means no more water Ellies.
Yeah, this is going to be a nearly checkmate scenario for Mike Lowe. Anduin's the clear play. He'll seize the board. That 3/8 Witchwood Grizzly is a great pickup off the Stonehill defender. Going to create quite a bit of board tension. And of course, the hero power from Shadow Reaper Anduin will allow Mike Lowe to just continue to accelerate the rate at which he's losing the... Okay, is Mike seeing it? Yeah, I assume he's seeing it. He's making trades first, but... There it is. All right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is going to be the plan. Just finish off the game with Shadow Reaper Anduin, and that I don't know if Wolf has any more outs from here.
I think that was pretty much it. Alana, Lich King, and Baron Geddon are pretty much the top end for this Control Mage deck. So I think Wolf might be out of gas here, Bot. I think this might be the beginning of the end.
Yeah, and you can't even like start to ping down Mike Lowe's creatures as long as Mike Lowe doesn't leave anything stranded at 1 HP. I think that this might just be Nate kind of dying somewhat slowly here.
Although Frostmourne can clear the Witchwood Grizzly and replay whatever 3 minions it killed. If it killed 3 minions, I wasn't keeping track of that. Keysmith is at least a card. Primordial Drake does put a little damage on the board if he wants to do that and protect the face. But yeah, options are limited here for Wolf. I think you just try to make the biggest board impact he can and hope for the best.
I must decide.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we still have a Voodoo Doll, so that's one water elemental. I know the Frostmourne has a Scalebane and a Stonehill Defender in it, so you know, maybe Wolf is able to stall out long enough and, you know, kind of regenerate a little bit of life here, because he's going to start losing it quite quickly to the Shadow Reaper, that he's able to somehow come back into this.
And Wolf picked up the Mana Binds off of the Keymaster because there's only one spell remaining in Mike Lowe's deck, and that's Mind Control. And that is a heck of a 0-mana card to pick up off of that secret. Wolf definitely had some interesting options there. I think they all had their pros and cons, but that's taking a big gamble on Mike Lowe having it. But it is a great bit of protection for, you know, getting that Primordial Drake stolen from Mind Control.
Yeah, so I'm looking here. Has he played 1 or 2 Blizzards? Because I believe he's out of big spells in his deck. I think this Dragon's Fury might actually be a dead card, but I'm not positive. I know we've seen 2 Flame Strikes. I know we've seen at least 1 Meteor. I'm pretty sure that I saw 2 Meteors, and definitely at least 1 Blizzard and 1 Dragon's Fury, and both polymorphs. So yeah, I actually don't think that Wolf has any big spells left in his deck.
I think these are the last 2 big spells in Wolf's deck, so I think you're right. I think Dragon's Fury is dead. Blizzard's the last one, and then Primordial Drake for what little bit of board clear it's going to do. Mike Lowe just going to use what's on the board and use the hero power to try to close this game out.
This is actually funny. I did not know that if you became Frostlich Jaina and then later became Shadow Reaper Anduin, that your elementals are still going to have lifesteal for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
that's kind of interesting.
It's an aura that gets created on the hero plate, and it does not go away if you play another card. So yeah, it'll just stack up.
That's kind of cool. So he ends up, let's see, ends up playing Witchwood Piper to get Arcane Artificer. Kind of makes him even in line with, in terms of fatigue.
Right.
I don't know, although I don't know if fatigue will ever matter in a game like this to the full extent, because if we, like, Wolf's hand is just dwindling and dwindling, and Mike Lowe still has so many cards in hand.
Yeah, there's still threats to be played for Mike Lowe. Yeah, and I guess Wolf not really caring too much about the fatigue game now that he's so far behind. He just wanted to try to create as many outs for himself as he could, which is fine. Mike Lowe, of course, can't heal anymore. He's 2 heroes behind on healing for the card draw. So, in fact, I think Mike is reading the fact that there are no more board clears for Wolf. So he's just going to go ahead and deploy as many tiny things as he can and draw out that last Blizzard that Primordial Drake to just create more tension. Frostmourne creating some minions. That's a pretty good set of them. In which good Grizzly gets back to 12 health because it was summoned and not played. The battle cry does not go into effect.
Yeah, unfortunate situation though. He really needs to play this Artificer and Dragon's Fury, otherwise he just dies to 2 pings. And I guess realizing that he has no more big spells is going to just, get that 5 armor. Probably going to make a water elemental here off of Mike's water elemental. And hopefully that can kind of get him back in here. But we got 2 Iron Beak Owls to silence those 2 minions. I think that means lethal? Or is he one off?
My goodness, I think that Spiteful is still active with 1 spell left in the deck. But yeah, there's 2 silence effects going. There's a mind control as well. But he still has to create the damage via the hero power. So he's got 4 attack on board. Hero powers, he can create 2 hero powers for 2 more damage. So yeah, it looks like he's just 1 damage off. No other way to create damage here.
So if he were to Doom Pact now, if he goes Hero Power, Doom Pact, Hero Power, then is that good enough?
I don't know, but that mind control tech stealing a Cobalt Scalebane was pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's a pretty big minion to have stolen there. But I'm worried that now Wolf is going to start being able to get a bit of lifesteal. But I guess, I mean, how is he now also going to deal with a Spiteful Summoner getting a 10 drop here?
Yeah, the Voodoo Doll's still in play, but oh my goodness, Tyrantus! That's exactly why the Voodoo Doll exists in these Control Mage decks, because there's no other answer for stuff like a 15-12 minion that can't be targeted by spells. And Wolf, he has to play it. There's really no other choice here.
Yeah, so like this is a pretty strong play here, but is like there's still so many Mike still has so many things.
Yeah, well, he is, there's the Emerald Drake is still in hand. That's good. Stonehill Defender can create another threat. So he still has threats, but actually the Ironbeak Owls and the Twilight Acolyte, not terribly threatening.
That's actually just lethal. He gets 2 pings to go with the 2 Ironbeak Owls. Each Ironbeak Owl silences a minion, and
then a hero power for...
And then, oh, nope. Now it's 1 off, right? I think I miscounted.
Oh,
yeah.
Dusky Boy comes into hand, though.
Because of the Arcane Artificer,
it is an elemental. People forget about that. It'll heal you for 1 every time.
As I just did.
Yeah, so, but there's 8 on board, 2 silences, and 2 hero powers available, so that is... that would be 14 damage, right? No, that's 12 damage. So yeah, once again, Mike 1 off of lethal, and has to just address the healing that keeps coming out of these elementals. And yeah, he's starting to run dry on threats. Emerald Drake's a great threat, and Stonehill could create another, but
shadowy thoughts.
He's got to find a way to get through and get that extra point of damage in, because this is a very, very precarious position to be in. You don't want to run out of threats against a control mage.
Yeah, it feels okay. So he's gonna set Wolf to 1 and put some minions in play. And then he's gonna be able to heal for 6. Huh.
7, in fact.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Wolf can actually kind of start clawing his way back in this game.
Yeah.
I almost feel like I would have wanted to like Dustbreaker that last turn, just like remove the water elemental and just kind of say, hey, now you got to deal with this.
Yeah, Wolf getting himself out of lethal range once again by the skin of his teeth. The owls unfortunately create more water elementals for Frostlich Jaina. Wolf has minions available to him. Primordial Drake creates a wall in front of Myclo. Protects the face a little bit. No burst damage coming out of Spiteful Druid. 2 Dusky Boys in hand now, and he's going to have to play them both before that Emerald Drake, and that would be a full clear if he wanted to deploy it now.
Yeah, kind of funny that usually playing Dustbreakers back-to-back not as good, but when they're buffed by Keleseth, one of them will survive, even though it allows Wolf to be able to create a water elemental off of it.
Yeah, and I think it's worth it, though. I mean, considering how low Wolf is on cards, Mike has to know that there can't be that many more minions left in Wolf's deck. So, clear. This is probably Wolf's last big minion push. So clearing this board, I think, Mike has to think that this is totally worth it. Because otherwise, what does he do? I mean, he's running out of threats himself.
Yeah, actually, if you just clear this board, then okay, so he's gonna go for clearing some of this board.
Okay.
I think you just clear the water elemental, and then it makes it so it's, well, I don't know. Like Wolf is just can kind of just find ways every turn to make water elementals, but I guess he is starting to run out of cards in deck. Eventually that fatigue's going to catch up to him, and with Myclo hitting fatigue at a similar time, it's not as relevant to him considering he gets to he's already still at 31 currently.
Phantom Militia. Wow, Wolf actually passing on creating an elemental here, knowing that Mike does not have any burst damage aside from the hero power, but that is a little dicey. But 3 taunts in the way for 9 mana, and creating a good bit of board tension. Definitely what he wanted to do there instead of creating the elemental. Dustbreaker going to clear off some, but not all of this board. Oh, no, he switches to the Stonehill Defender. Not a great offer there.
No, definitely not what you wanted to see. You really wanted just something that can kind of help you in the game. I kind of wish that these pings started going face, because it feels like Nate is just not going to be able to, heal. How does he heal? What cards would be left in his deck that could possibly get him life back? It just feels like you can kind of kill him over a couple turns.
Yeah, this is this seemed like Mike's game all the way down, and if he can continue to utilize that hero power, he can get there in combination with fatigue damage. Oh, Wolf's last card was Syndragosa. Oh my goodness. Suddenly, gas for Wolf.
Oh man, if he gets
oh my
the Trailblazer,
goodness.
Wow. Oh man, if Nate is able to come back in this game.
Oh my goodness.
Oh wait, I think that's
well,
the Firefly.
Doompact is now live though, because there are no cards to burn for Mike. Oh, but
yep,
he's got lethal here.
Lethal.
Oh, right.
Yeah. There it is. That tech of the Firefly commending key.
The 30th card for both players looked like it was going to be the thing they needed, but Mike had him just far enough down to be able to get those hero powers in and finish the game. Oh man, bot, that was a marathon. My goodness.
Man, there was so much going on in that game. I mean, from the beginning, I was like, I think that Spiteful probably has an advantage, as you were saying at the beginning. But I mean, getting Frostless Jaina off the Glimmer route, and then everybody's making elementals everywhere. Man, that game was crazy.
Yeah, and that was game 2, by the way. We still have a ways to go. Mike picks up the win on the Priest, equalizes the series at 1-1, so we're down to a best of 3. Bot, go ahead and tell him to get started. I'm going to tell the folks what's coming up for the rest of the week. For tomorrow night, Friday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Versika of the Hero Power Podcast will be taking on Chris, Rock Bass Plumber, from 1600 Dust. That is sure to be a heck of a match because I know Chris loves him some competitive Hearthstone, and Versika is a student of the game without a doubt. Bot, super excited for that matchup.
Yeah, it should be quite interesting to watch. Hopefully, I'm able to be there. I believe there's another match going on later that night that I might even be casting.
I do not see it on the schedule, but if you know what it is, by all means, let us know.
I'm just gonna check it out real quick here. Just give me a quick second. I believe that Lore Master Eve versus Ziggy is happening at 11:30 Eastern. And I would think I will be home in time to be able to cast that one, and that's pretty exciting. That'll also be a great match.
Definitely check that out. That's going to be a badass Women of Hearthstone duel. I didn't see that because I'm actually playing a best of 5 at that same time slot. But yeah, check that out. Lore Master Eve has shown some great creativity in this league. Definitely worth checking out. For this match, Mike switching to the Warlock. Nate going to the Quest Rogue, which seems like very favored against this Warlock bot.
Yeah, Mike is playing a much more controlling version of Warlock, so Quest Rogue is just kind of meant to prey on it. I actually like daggering here to dagger down the 2-1. You don't want to be taking too much damage from it. I'd rather just take the 2 damage ones, because the way that Warlock is going to beat you usually is that they're going to kind of just get in some early chip damage and able to push some damage later and hope that you had a slow quest, essentially.
Yep, and not a ton of things to do here in the early game for Mike aside from these Doomsayers. He's going to be able to trade down that 1-1 if he wants to, or life tap for cards, which that's what he's going to go for. Oh, Skull's a nice pickup, though. He'll be hoping to draw some demons ahead of that pickup.
Yeah, and now Wolf has an interesting decision. Do you start to progress your quest with Stone Tusk Boar and Brewmaster? It looks like that's what he's going to end up doing, and I actually like this a lot. You already have Sonya in hand, and now you just need essentially to kill off your own Stone Tusk Boar 3 more times to be able to complete the quest.
Which is very, very doable. That's just a 6 mana that Wolf needs to be sitting on, and he's already at 4. So he can complete this quest very, very quickly and picks up the Elven Minstrel, which will allow him to draw into more threats after the quest is completed. So Wolf already has Mike down to 22 damage. I think this is exactly the position he wants to be in. Mike deploying the second Doomsayer to give him time to play that Skull of the Minari. And Wolf, so far, no way to continue the quest, but he's going to backstab for some minions off of the Minstrel.
Yeah, backstab's a pretty dead card for the most part in this matchup, so I don't mind using it just to kind of spend your mana. You really don't want to take the full turn off and not spend any mana there, so I like this play a lot, and actually pretty good coming out from Mike Lowe. Maybe thinking that if he can somehow prevent, if Wolf has a somewhat slow quest, maybe he can like destroy a bunch of cards and kind of grind Wolf out from here. But the Sonya Stone Tusk Boar is going to get the quest complete, and that's going to give Mike a lot of problems for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think this is going to set the quest to 4, but he did draw the second Stone Tusk Boar, so the quest is available on demand for Mike. Oh, that's right. He gets another one back from Sonya. So yeah, ready to complete quest at his own pace, which I would hope is immediately. Yeah, I didn't mind the Rin from Mike either. No demons in hand for the Skull to interact with. go ahead and create a taunt, go ahead and create a possible win condition in case Wolf has a bad hand. But this is now very, very tricky for Wolf. He has to consider how close Wolf is to that quest. He knows Wolf can finish the quest in a turn. How does he get to an in-game scenario with that quest breathing down his neck? That is what Mike is trying to do here.
Yeah, so your options are like you definitely have to kill this Sonya because it's just gonna keep generating value if you leave it up. So I'd be looking at like attack into Sonya, Dark Pact my Rin, and play the first seal, and maybe hope that you get your seals off in time. But looks like he's just gonna kind of create a small wall here.
That's an interesting option. They will die to trades. The Caverns Below has not been nerfed yet, so these are still 5/5s, and a 5/5 plus a dagger hit will value trade into the Rin, and this is actually going to clog up Mike's hand with seals, which could end up being problematic for him here.
Yeah, I don't see a way out of this. And the other issue is that, like, I was thinking that you could kind of run somebody out of resources with Rin if you destroy the right cards. But, you know, Nate is playing the Valera Zola, which all the decks are playing Zola, but Valera plus Zola means that you have infinite 5/5s for the rest of the game. Ugh. So that's actually a thing that I had not thought about before I listened to, I believe it was Value Town today, and they were talking about Zolaing a Zola with the shadow.
Oh goodness,
shadow card, and even when your guys are 4/4s, just having infinite of them, infinite 4/4s is still pretty good.
Indeed, and Wolf has got a vicious scale hide, a Stone Tusk Boar in hand. He's got plenty of ways to create immediate threats. Elven Minstrel will draw more cards. Glacial Shard there to keep the aggression back. Wolf seems to be in command of this game. He just has to start piecing the lethal together. Copy the Stone Tusk Boar seems like a good way to start.
More I don't think that this will end up ever actually going to fatigue.
No.
So, or I mean, to a situation where Mike is able to essentially prevent Nate from, you know, having enough on board. Okay, ends up playing out the Scale Hide. I don't know that we needed to play that. It kind of plays right into this Twisting Nether.
Yep, turn or the Godfrey if that's the way he wants to go with it, which is pretty attractive. That'll, instead of the Nether just clearing the board, Godfrey will leave a 4/4 in play. And Wolf down to 4 cards means that unless they're all chargers, that puts Mike out of immediate lethal range. So clearing this board is a must for Mike. It's just a question of whether or not he wants a 4/4 in front of it, which I would think he does.
Yeah, I would think so. We do see, though, that Nate has the Elven Minstrel, so even when this board gets cleared, it's just going to be... I assume that next turn he plays Stone Tusk Boar into Minstrel, see if he draws a couple chargers to be able to end the game. Might end up just going with Valera.
Yeah, just go with the Valera, yeah.
Too.
He'll be able to create 4 boars next turn, as long as a Void Lord doesn't come out and block the way to the face. I like this a lot. Just you know you have lethal next turn. You know you can't die this turn. Just go for it.
This is somewhat susceptible to the ooze, though. This is a situation where, like, ooze can come down on the weapon, and now your deck hands are turned off. I think I like going for a potential lethal with Boar Minstrel last turn, and then if you don't get there, you can just play Valera the next turn. It's not a big deal, because if a Void Lord would have come down this turn, then I think the Wolf actually could get ground out. I think it is possible that he could have gotten ground out this game.
True enough, but he was holding both Stone Tusk Boars, so he knew he could get there as long as there was no taunt. Now, what if there was a Void Lord in the way, bot? How does Quest Rogue win the game in that kind of scenario?
A lot of times it actually involves like a vanish, or just like or just, kind of killing it, since it doesn't really do a lot to your minions. And that is going to be a lethal, drawing the Brewmaster, exactly what Nate needed to end the game. It seemed like something that would have happened eventually anyway, but this just kind of seals the deal quicker.
Yep, and that's going to do it. Nate punches in the Quest Rogue versus Control Warlock. Usually very favored for the Quest Rogue, and that is why. Because of how quickly the Rogue puts together that combo and what little Warlock can do about it. So that puts Nate up 2-1 in the series. Now is left on the Control Mage, and Mike has his own Mage and his own Warlock to try and beat that Control Mage twice. Bod, what are his odds in that?
It's so I believe that Mike could probably queue up his more aggressive mage deck here. It probably does okay against the big spell mage. Actually, his last two matchups I think do okay against big spell mage. The big thing is Mike obviously has Rin, so if he's able to Rin and Dark Pact early in the game, it puts a lot of pressure on a big spell mage that's generally not good at putting pressure back on you. And Azari can come down and kind of put the big spell mage into fatigue pretty early, if that's what Mike's able to do. And then if he's able to draw like a mana worm or something as his kind of more aggressive mage, then that's hard for a big spell mage to deal with that early.
Yeah, I don't know if you would quantify Mike's deck as a tempo mage, but if with the burn options available to it, that's what big mage has a tough time with. So that is definitely a favorable matchup. But the control warlock, control mage is kind of a 50-50. That's going to come down to player skill and luck. So I'm really interested to see if that's the game 5 for this series. And it looks like it might be if Mike can get the win on this mage.
You asked for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a scary point for Nate, actually. I don't know, what is your opinion on the more aggressive mage versus big spell mage matchup?
Oh, it is definitely in the aggressive mage's favor, mostly because there isn't a lot of healing available in the mid game for control mage. So fireballs, frost bolts basically cannot be healed through for the control mage. They usually can't do that until about turn 7 or 8 when they can combine an artificer with a spell. Mike getting off to a decent foot here. Vaporize in the deck. What an interesting choice.
Yeah, he's playing a one of Vaporize, and he's also playing a couple other spicy cards. He's also playing a little small elemental package in this deck with the Secret Keeper too. Really wish he would have had the Secret Keeper in the opener. It's kind of like a mini mana worm in some situations.
Yeah, and Wolf picks up a Rotten Apple Bomb off of the Stonehill Defender, which is it's 4 health of healing off the death rattle, but it's also 5 health that Mike Lowe's gonna have to punch through. So in effect, kind of keeps 9 health away from the life total for Wolf. So probably a great pickup off the Stonehill Defender. Mike Lowe, not a lot of pressure here in the early game, picking up lots of small spells, but really these aggressive mage decks need minion pressure to set up a burn lethal. And this Primordial Glyph, Pyroblast probably the pick, but again, not the best options here for Mike to try and close out this game.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest issue with the aggressive mage decks is just that if you don't have a really blazing start and you draw a lot of the cards that you would prefer to get in the later game, like your Frostbolts and Fireballs in your early game, then it just means that Nate can kind of just stay stable here. He ends up playing the Arcane Keysmith into a Frozen clone. Not something you see every day.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised at the Frozen clone choice off of the Glyph. But now this gives Mike Lowe 2 Keysmiths of his own, which could be devastating in this matchup, because if he picks up counter spells, then that's going to be a huge problem for the big mage. But none off the first one, although Mana Bind is kind of spicy. I wouldn't mind seeing him pick up on that one. Getting a free Flame Strike or a free Meteor would be pretty helpful in this matchup.
Yeah, I think that it'd be okay, but I do like the explosive runes. I think your opponent is at 30 life still, and it's it's almost turn 5 for them. You really need to start getting in some damage here. Although I guess since he didn't end up taking the Pyroblast, maybe he's looking at trying to play a more value-oriented approach and just kind of chip away at Nate a little slower, and then maybe burst him down towards the end with, like, we see Leroy in the hand.
Maybe, but playing against Control Mage a lot of times is a race against Jaina. You don't want to give this deck time to pick up Frostlich Jaina and start creating those elementals and healing out of lethal range. So yeah, like, this lack of minion pressure from Mike in this game is very problematic for him, I think. Wolf got all the time in the world to develop his hand, craft it the way he wants to. Explosive runes chipping in for 3 damage. Not the worst thing ever. But that only brings Wolf to 27. Mike has a ways to go to close this game out.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what his plan is from here. Mana Worm, not the card you want to see when you have 6 mana crystals.
No.
It's not looking great for Mike right now. I'm kind of wonder how he wants to proceed in this game. I guess getting the Mana Worm out now and playing that Arcane Smith, maybe getting up a counterspell, or does he already have a counterspell up?
The secret that is up is, yes, it is a counterspell. So yeah, that's right. So the Keysmith won't even present it as an option. I see. But Mirror Entity, Frozen Clone, Mana Bind, he's already, I think, been offered all 3 of these before. So does he want more minion copies? Does he want a free big spell? Mike goes for the Frozen Clone once again. He wants, which makes sense. He's really lacking in minion pressure here, so this could give him the minion pressure he needs, which would Piper. And ain't bad. It's 3/3 that draws cards.
Yeah, it's gonna draw some of those elementals, draw another Mana Worm, draw the Secret Keeper. There's maybe this is gonna work out for Mike here. Like, his board looks somewhat anemic now, but when we get to the later game here, Nate's gonna try to cast some spells, and they're gonna get counterspelled. I don't know what he's gonna do.
I don't know either, but I'm thinking that Mike Lowe really wants to have this Mana Worm charged up and protected from the minion trades, because the counterspell is going to protect it from at least 1 board clear. So he's got to think about how he's going to develop the tools in his hand to do that. Mana Bind, that
on the Vaporize.
My goodness.
Okay.
All right. Well, 0 mana Vaporize for Wolf is interesting. But yeah, Mike has to protect this Mana Worm if he wants to get to an in-game scenario. So that Frostbolt looks like it's part of the equation here.
Yeah, I think you probably play like Sorcerer's Apprentice, Frostbolt, or I guess we could just use a ping here. I was thinking you go Sorcerer's Apprentice, Frostbolt, and hit face for 5, but it looks like he's going for a trading route and just kind of assume that his things are going to be protected.
That was a big burn here. That's Baron Geddon is an integral part of Control Mage's in-game plan, because that's how you get healed out of lethal range. Vaporized, counterspelled.
This is actually just brilliant there. That was really well done by Nate. Recognizing that he's going to have to play against a counterspell eventually, so by getting the Mana Bind from the Keysmith means that as soon as Mike plays a spell, he's going to be able to get it countered and then resolve a very important thing. Just really heads-up play there by Nate. I like that play a lot.
Yeah, that was... I didn't see that coming, from 4 turns away, but I think Nate did. That was brilliant, Bot. I'm really impressed with that that forward thinking from Wolf. And Mike Lowe getting offered the same suite of spells once again, goes with the explosive runes to start applying some damage because Wolf's back up to 31, and Mike Lowe's basically starting from scratch as far as the damage game goes. Syndragos is going to come down.
Oh man, if that had been a mirror image,
Oh man,
oh, that could have swung the whole game around. But very heads up play by by Nate, making sure that it doesn't take any damage from an explosive runes
yeah,
there.
absolutely. And he's going to get a little more gas in the hand from those frozen clones, or not? What are they called? They are called frozen champions. There we go. Another counterspell goes into play for Mike Lowe. Gonna once again protect the board from any board clears from Wolf on the first casts, and Mike Lowe starting his board chip plan again, and not being able to do much with this hand. Polymorph triggers off the counterspell.
And yeah, that's the second counterspell, and both of them have been from deck, I believe. So, ooh, Marin the Fox.
That is not bad. It's a 6/6. Mike's not creating a ton of pressure, so the slow speed on the 8-mana 6/6 is not too much of a concern. And Wolf should be able to pop that treasure chest, so things could start getting real spicy in here.
Oh yeah, we got these voodoo dolls.
Oh yeah, you could do it with the voodoo doll. Yeah.
I mean, these flame strikes will kill it eventually.
Yeah.
But really, I think what Nate needs at this point is just Jaina. If he's able to draw Jaina, I think that's going to allow him to stay out of range of Mike Lowe for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Mike, at least with these Witchwood Pipers, allowing him to keep his hand full with very small incremental pressure. Explosive runes coming down again, but Marin, if Wolf decides to deploy that, it's gonna eat up that explosive runes and develop that chest, which is an interesting. Oh, Wolf going for the clear here. Oh, because this will clear off the frozen champion.
Yep. Also, just guaranteed to work. He knows that both counter spells are gone, and now he can resolve something like a Apple Bomb or a Fen Creeper behind it. And explosive rune's going to come out, actually gain him some life there.
Yep.
So while inefficient on mana, still maintains a high life total going into Mike Lowe's next turn.
And Darius Crowley is what came out of the other Frozen Champion. That is a great stall board control tool for Mike Wolf. It's basically another removal piece and another threat to counter Mike Lowe's offense with here. So I would say, pretty good results off the Frozen Clones. Mike starting to run out of resources here, not developing a lot of minion pressure for this late stage in the game. Just 6th attack on board, and Wolf can very easily handle this with the plethora of big spells he has in hand.
Yeah, you can actually just play this Darius.
Yes.
Get something big. Interesting. Decided not to ping that. Ends up going with the taunt minion instead. I think I might have liked just pinging that down there, but this works too. I mean, it puts up a taunt in the way. I mean, Mike's playing some interesting cards, so he could actually push a bit of damage here with this Iron Beak Owl. I think that's probably going to end up coming down this turn.
Yeah, I think he kind of has to, although it's with the attack and health values that are available, just trading for Mike Lowe here just kind of continues to get him sliding backwards out of this game because it's not applying any face damage, and Wolf's going to get the value trades out of this. So this is a tricky position for Wolf. Here comes Marin the Fox.
Yep, I think Nate is feeling quite comfortable in this position to go for Marin the Fox there. I mean, he's still at 22 life. I think it's a little bit risky, but you might just need to like draw into something here since you haven't drawn your Jaina yet. So you might need to go for that treasure that draws 3 cards that all cost 0.
Yeah, I mean, there's always an outside chance from Wolf's perspective that there might be like double Pyroblast in Mike Lowe's deck. Who knows? with this weird deck comp. So, and Wolf has already deployed both of his Arcane Artificers, so there's no more healing outside of Jaina herself. So Wolf he does have to be a little bit careful from some surprise lethal, but he's going to get the news here that Myclo does not have that in hand.
Yeah, he's got to be wondering what this last card is. I think you probably assume that it's something like a Pyroblast, since it's been in the hand for a long time. And that's the card I was thinking about. Let's see what we get.
My goodness. 3 cards come into hand at 0 mana. My word. Lich King for 0 mana. Blizzard 0 mana. Plated Beetle 0 mana. That is an enormous swing for Wolf here.
Yeah, he actually he knew that was that was vaporized. He actually might have wanted to wait on that attack so that he could attack with Plated Beetle and gain the 3 armor, but he's just so far ahead at this point, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is going to wrap it up now. Nate Wolf taking the series 3-1, and what might have been an unfavored matchup with the mages, but he manages to close it out with just good old-fashioned smart play, planning, and a little bit of luck from Marin the Fox.
Yeah, very impressive display there from Nate. I just want to go back to that secret play. That secret play where he just knew that he was going to need a cheap secret so that he could resolve one of his high casting cost spells was just so much great forethought. It really, I think, was the reason he ended up winning that game, because we saw there that, you know, if that Flame Strike or the Dragon's Fury would have actually gotten countered, then Mike would have been able to push an extra 6 damage or so, and this Leroy would have put him dangerously low and probably within range of actually dying there.
Yeah, you're right about that. Let's go ahead and jump in the Discord and see if Mike and Nate want to join us for a little post-game chat. We'll see if we can catch up on a few scores from around the league tonight while Bot does that. From earlier today, we covered the scores again. Let's see if they updated the scores, unless Bot got us into that call very, very quickly. So let's switch over to
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, all right. Let's see. We got Nate. Do we have Mike?
He said he was hopping on, so
Okay.
he should be here soon. Those were some crazy games. My goodness.
I kind of added him without asking, so he's
Yeah,
probably
he told me
into,
he told me he was hopping on Discord right now, so he should be here shortly.
Yeah, there was give us a glimpse real quick though while we're waiting for him on your deck selection for this week.
Well, so initially I was hoping to play some kind of meme decks, but some like meme decks or whatever, but I really wanted to play some of the cards pre-nerf, and I was experimenting with some kind of funky Glenda Warlock, and it just wasn't working out well for me, so I switched to just a good old Q block. And I was messing around with an odd elemental mage, and man, it was super fun, but I just kept losing over and over and over with it. And I thought, as fun as it would be, I kind of want to win.
Yeah. Well, Control Mage definitely got you there. Did you have any idea what to expect from Mike's Mage deck? Do you know what it is yet, or has it?
No.
It was.
I just assumed. Initially, like, I thought it was just a secret mage, but it felt really slow for a secret mage, so I don't know.
It was something of a super secret mage, if you will.
What's up, Mike?
Oh, there's Mike.
Hey,
so,
how's it going, guys?
Mike, tell us about that the mage build. We're all really curious what your strategy was behind it.
All right, so the strategy behind it was to go all face, but what you saw was not what happened, or the strategy. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I got the 2-mana minion, get the secret. I was hoping. I actually just watched who was it, Spivey and Hat. So I was going off a quote that Hat said, or Spivey, one of those two. I was trying to get the Arcane Worm into the 2-mana minion to draw the secret, and then get the 3-mana minion, play it for free, and just roll from there. But that didn't happen. I should have just played Spiteful.
Actually, I do like.
Hey, Spiteful Mage is fun. I
ideas.
took it week 1. It was it's pretty bananas.
Yeah, because your deck even had more one drops than the normal Secret Mage does, so it just seemed a little unfortunate that you weren't able to get any minion pressure going early, because that's usually how the Secret Mage deck is able to win there. And honestly, just
There you go.
Seven one-drop minions in my mage deck, and I drew 0.
That's preparation right there, though. You gotta give props for that.
Oh, this is my, in case no one knows, this is my UHL notebook. I got all kind of. Dude, I'm the
look
rookie
at that.
of this. I'm the rookie here, so I gotta have notes and preparation and stuff. Oh yeah.
No, that's
a, you know what, that's a
fun,
good idea.
that is a sign of a great player in the making, if you ask me. That's great players take notes. Yeah, it's well, hey man, you've been kind of become like a superstar on Twitch overnight. So you're doing the right thing for sure.
Yeah, man. Yo, I've been getting followers, a lot of support whenever I stream. I get viewership. Like, I appreciate everybody that comes by. Like, to me, I started all this as a hobby, just wanting to like be a part of the crew or be a part of the group. But to actually like get Twitch affiliate, get more than 50 followers, I think I'm like 3 away from 100 now. Like, it's insane.
I was gonna say, yeah,
like,
congrats,
awesome.
Mike. I think you just hit 100 today, or super close, right?
Oh, if I did, yeah, then I didn't see it yet. But yeah, I'm awesome. This is awesome, man. I can't.
If not, very, very close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I just joined the call. Did you guys talk about game 2 yet?
We just jumped into it, but yeah, tell us your thoughts about game 2 while you're at it.
Okay, Spirit Singer Warlock's pretty dope. That first Glimmer Root, it was Raven Familiar or Vex Crow. I really thought it was gonna be Vex Crow, so I clicked Vex Crow, and it was Raven Familiar, so I messed up there. But that second Glimmer Root got me that Death Knight Jaina, dude.
That has got to be game of the week right there. That was
insane.
And
Holy,
I learned.
I'm not gonna swear, but yeah, good.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I learned something new this week. So when so he had he pulled Frostless Jaina from the Curious Glimmer Root, gave all his elementals lifesteal for the rest of the game, and then when he switched to Death Knight Anduin, they kept the lifesteal. That was incredible,
baby. Oh yeah, I've done that plenty of times before. So like, I was so hyped. I couldn't let that happen on stream in the UHL. Like,
damn. I was trying to recover from that one, but it was just past the point of no return.
Yeah, that was insane, that was a marathon for us as well. So I'm noticing a difference kind of in approach. Nate, you're coming from mostly from a wild focus and jumping into a standard competitive league, and
that is correct.
Yeah, like week to week, you tend to stick with meta decks, or at least decks that have been refined over time in the standard format, where some other players are showing some creativity and flexibility. So what's your thoughts about that, about transitioning from wild to standard?
I have mixed feelings. Like I feel like as part of the UHL, I really want to put on a fun show, and so I really like to play some of the more kind of weird decks, but at the same time, like sometimes they're just not good. Mike, we were talking about it right before you jumped on. Like, I was test playing with this it was like a Baku elemental mage, and I was trying so hard to make it work, and it was just not, like, I just lost 10 games in a row with it, and I thought, well, I probably shouldn't bring this, but and again, I brought Spiteful Mage week 1, and so I don't know. I feel like I kind of have been bouncing back and forth between some meta decks and some more creative ones, and so we'll see. I think next week, Chris and I might have some shenanigans in store for you guys.
We definitely like shenanigans.
It makes for it makes for a lot more fun. I think that it's a little boring to bring the standard kind of meta decks. Coming from a wild perspective, wild, you talk about crazy shenanigans. The other day I was able to get 7 Mal'Ganis on Mal'Gani?
Sure.
On
we'll
the
go
board
with that.
at the same time.
Mal'Ganis.
I took a screenshot. It was beautiful. And that type of thing is the crazy stuff we do in wild, and a little bit more tame here in standard, but I enjoy it. I'm still kind of learning the meta and learning some decks, but I will try to test my deck building skills as we continue here.
Right on. So, Bot, did you jot down a question or two for our players?
It was more just a couple comments. I had some pretty good praise, especially for Mike, just seeing the way that your spiteful priest was built. Like the Jaina actually normally in a priest deck, you have a hard time controlling your opponent's toughness
Yeah.
totals, but you had some interesting cards like Ironbeak Owl and Frost Elemental, Glacial Shard.
Glacial Shard, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that you were actually able to create your own water elementals there. I actually think that gave you a really big edge where a lot of the spiteful decks wouldn't be able to do that quite as easily. And then also for Nate in that last game, I keep going back to this, but the taking the mana bind early so that eventually when Mike played a spell, you were able to get a 0 mana spell to be able to resolve one of your big spells on a crucial turn. And I actually think that was the main reason that you ended up winning that last game, because you were able to clear the board. And we saw that Mike still had a Leroy in hand. So had you taken a little bit of extra chip damage there, it's actually pretty likely that you would have been under enough pressure. You might have actually still lost that game.
Yeah, I was searching really hard for my Jaina and just not finding it. And I was nervous because I wasn't sure what type of mage it was and he had been holding a card. I guess it turned out to be.
I don't know what kind of mage it was. No, I'm just kidding.
I guess it was Leroy, but I kept thinking it's a fireball, or something. And if my health total gets too low, I'm in big trouble. And I was searching for Jaina, but that mana bind really helped. I figured I could use it to proc his counterspell if that's what it was, and that kind of helped. Pulling what's his name? The pirate treasure guy.
Marin the Fox.
Oh, Marin. Oh,
yeah.
my
goodness. Getting Marin the Fox
hell?
off of Cinderella and getting a free Lich King, that was pretty fun.
Oh, my
That was
goodness.
sick. It was absolutely sick. That's a highlight reel for sure.
That was awesome, man. I was like,
But I have to say, Mike, you played the Spiteful list exceptionally well. I caught
thank you.
Or I'm sorry, yeah, the Spiteful Priest list very, very, very well. And man, I caught a misplay of my own, that one turn where I had like 1 health left on my water elemental, and I pinged your face.
That's
and
right, yeah.
As soon as I did it, I was like, "Oops!"
All right, instantly I was like, "The hell!" And then the next second later, I was like, "Oh, this is UHL BM." And then you emoted, and I was like, "Oh, he actually messed up." Like, all right, let's go. Like,
Oh yeah, no. I emoted like the "oops"
Yeah.
right after. Like,
Yeah,
I
like,
caught
oops,
it.
yeah.
I tend to play a little quickly sometimes. I think that's one of my downfalls. I need to slow it down a little bit, but
Even though my overall is 2-2, I should have focused more on the other games. Not that I didn't, but I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like everyone listening and watching, that second game, that Priest Mage, whatever the hell that was, like I feel like that was like the Super Bowl. Like I don't know how long that match was.
Right.
But it was one of those games. I wrote down on my notes here. I wrote down Chestone with like 10 question marks. Where are my spiteful summoners? Like I wrote down some things. I was like, honestly, I don't know what's going on here. So
I got really lucky.
I was like, I gotta focus till the end. I'm sorry, you got lucky?
I was gonna say I got really lucky at one point when your Spiteful pulled Tyrantus, and then your
The voodoo doll.
well, and then your Scalebane buffed the Tyrantus, and I was
Yeah.
able to ping it with the voodoo doll.
Yeah.
But
When that stuff happens when I stream, my quote is usually, "Huh, what you gonna do here, buddy?" And then as soon as you played it, I was like, "Damn, that's what you're gonna do, buddy." But no one's watching me. I'm not streaming, so no one heard my quote. But yeah, that's what happens to me on my stream. That's actually why I started streaming, because the worst things happen. I don't get salty or mad, but I was like, I need someone to see this for proof.
There you go.
Hey, it was awesome, but I'll be quiet now.
So
Go ahead, guys.
if people want to watch you stream, Mike, where do they need to go, and where do they follow you on social media?
All right, you can find me on twitch.tv/ML Streams. And that's also my Twitter name. You can find me on Twitter at ML Streams. And typically I'll tweet before I go live streaming.
And stream he does. He's at it several nights a week. Please check it out. And Nate, for those who want to check out your podcast, where do they go and where do they follow you personally?
Thank you, sir. You can follow me on Twitter at NateWolfHS, NateWolfEhs, and I'm part of the podcast Into the Wild, the only Wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast. And you can find us on Twitter at Into the Wild HS. You can download the show on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you can get podcasts, or directly from radiocircus.net.
Excellent.
Oh, really quick.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm on a podcast too. It's called The Clock
The
HS.
Clock.
That's the team that I'm representing for the UHL, and it is a one of the many standard exclusive podcasts, if you will. So,
There's a few. Right on.
Oh man.
But yeah, Mike doing all the work all around the Hearthstone community. So thank you both for coming on to our little post-game chat. Congrats, Nate, on the win, and well played and good show, Mike. We're so glad
well
you're both part of this league.
Thank you so much. Yeah, very good
games.
games.
That loss. This is awesome. Like this was, you're not supposed to like that you lost, but this was great. Like I can't. I don't know, man. That was awesome. I'm watching this VOD after this.
That highlight reel for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good stuff. All right, gentlemen. Have a great rest of the night. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
See you next time.
Well, Bot, that was I lost your face. Well, that was very entertaining series. Final thoughts before we wrap this up close to 1 a.m. on the East Coast.
Wow, just what a series there. Well fought by both players. Obviously that second game was big highlight. Definitely lots to go over and rewatch it. Lots of cool plays being made there, and overall just congrats to Nate, and well done by Mike there. I'm excited to see the next set.
Yep, and don't forget tomorrow night, more UHL action from your favorite streamers and content creators. 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern Coast, Versika versus Chris Plummer. And then at 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern, Loremaster Eve versus Ziggy Sarah, the Badass Women of Hearthstone. Please come check it out. It's going to be right here on this Twitch channel. Definitely on this Twitch channel tonight. And not the other Twitch channel that we had on last night. Thanks to Team Hearth League for putting up the VOD, by the way. But for Bot and the rest of United Hearthstone League, good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.